All right. Welcome into Detroit Sports Talk, fifth chapter. We're ready to get things underway. I'm Dennis Fithian. Raj Bundles, you'll see there on the right side of your screen. What's up, Raj?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Dennis?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Glad to be here to talk this weekend of sports with you. It's definitely been a good weekend.
Oh, yeah. It's good to see you, and you'll be here throughout the show. Pete Finelli, who you usually see there on the screen. I got my volume kicked up on my iPad here. That's not good. So we'll adjust that. Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, crazy week, college and NFL. I'm excited to get into it. And
well, good. Well, with that, let's go. You know, we did have the Manning cast last night. We had the Monday Night Football game. It was the Las Vegas Raiders opening up their building for the first time with fans, hosting the Ravens. I picked the Ravens -4. That was a bad bet, but ESPN tried to have the Manning brothers on there on ESPN2. Did either of you guys see that? I already know the answer to this. I know the answer is no. You guys didn't watch it.
I've seen some clips from it. I did see some clips.
I've seen clips.
I seen Peyton Manning had on the Ravens helmet and was calling the play.
Yeah, you know what? It seemed to me, at least Twitter-wise, people either don't like the guys that are on there now, you know, Steve Levy and company, Brian Greasy.
They're always complaining.
They are always complaining, and Louis Riddick on there. You know, I don't have a problem with that broadcast overall, except with one thing. And somebody, it was a national guy that said it, like when they originally got the job, and then I can't really unhear it since it's happened. Both Louis Riddick and Brian Greasy. I mean, I know what Brian Greasy sounds like. I know what Louis Riddick sounds like. They sound very similar. And so then there are times when I'm watching and I'm like, you know what? Louis Riddick's usually talking about defensive backs and Greasy's usually talking about quarterbacks because those are the two positions those guys played. So I don't know. You'll have to keep that in mind the next time you watch it. But I found myself, I flipped over there and they're showing Charles Barkley. It was like a YouTube cast, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's where one of the things we're streaming out there is YouTube right now. And a lot of YouTubers, like, they'll have the game on and they'll be just like the Mannings. They'll be breaking down the game. They'll be talking about it. So maybe younger people. That's why I was thinking you guys would be all over it.
Yeah, I was watching the game at Twin Peaks. I went to Twin Peaks with a couple friends and my brother. So no audio. I was watching the game, but I just couldn't hear it. They didn't have the audio on to the game.
Yeah, I also
is that going to be a weekly thing with the Mannings moving forward?
Yeah. Yeah, Pete, what's your excuse? You didn't watch the Monday Night Game? Studying? You're partying?
No, the first one. I was, just a lot of work to do. But I agree. I like having guys like the Mannings on. And, recently Drew Brees has been doing it. And Romo has been doing it for a couple of years. It's nice seeing those younger guys, I guess you could say, do the broadcast and break it down. It's just, it's a newer thing. I feel like they're a lot more into it. They're excited. You
don't have a play-by-play guy, so they were just kind of reacting to what's going on. So if you're looking for the names of the players, but there can be some different. They had Russell Wilson during the game. He's late in the game. Talking about some of the strategy there. It's a little. I think it'd take a little bit getting used to. I think that next week, because it'll be the Lions and the Packers, I'll find myself. I'll watch the regular broadcast, and I think I'll flip it and then run it back and watch the Manning. So it'll be like a 6-hour deal, but it'll be interesting to hear their insights there. That's going to be my plan coming up. That's the extent that I'm going to be all in on the Mannings, is I'm going to run it back. I don't know. That sounds like a pretty late night. Maybe the next morning I'll do that. But for next Tuesday's broadcast, I'll have watched both.
Yeah,
so that's it.
Yeah, I think that's dope that the Mannings are doing that. It seemed like a lot of the guys that calls the games now, a lot of people complain about them. I hear a lot of people complain about Joe Buck and Troy Aikman too. Me personally, I love Joe Buck and Troy Aikman games, but I hear a lot of people complain about them. So it's good that they switched the tempo up and that they're doing that.
I hear you on that. Bashir is in there. Robert Banker's good to go. He's behind the scenes there, running all the videos, and here we go. Different spin on things. Ismail, that's right. It was a different spin on things with the Manning cast over there. All right, well, let's get ready to get things underway here. We do have 5 chapters for you. We'll throw that book up there so you can take a look at it. I know that that's already been out there. I asked for that. I'm not sure that we had that prepared. So if we don't, do we have a book on today's show? We might. He didn't make a book. That's all right. As you might expect, what we're going to be talking about in chapter 1, we're going to get to the Lions. We will get to both Michigan and Michigan State, who played over the weekend, and then they had week 1 in the NFL and then week 2 in college football. Those are going to be the chapters here. So let's get it underway with chapter 1, and that is the Detroit Lions, who opened up at home against San Francisco. And Raj, we're going to start with you here. I would just ask you, what you thought here of the opener. The Lions got down by 28 points, and they didn't look very good at the half, and then they gave up an early touchdown in the third, and it was pretty much over, but they ended up fighting back and made it where they actually had a chance here at the end. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, going into the game, I didn't think they were going to win the game. I just wanted to see them be competitive, which for a good portion of that game, they weren't competitive. I think Jared Goff, he was very Stafford-esque. You're playing from behind and you rack up a bunch of yards, a bunch of numbers. 38 for 57, threw the ball from almost 60 times, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. On the outside looking in, those are phenomenal numbers. But in the grand scheme of things, like I said, it's very Stafford-esque because you're playing from behind. So he's it just same situation, different quarterback. But I think the offensive line played well. I think Williams and Swift look good at running back. I think they're starting to see the fruits of their labor from all the capital and all the investment they invested into the offensive line. I thought Penei Sewell looked good at left tackle. I think they're going to have a problem on their hands when Taylor Decker comes back. Are they going to keep him at left, moving back to right? So, yeah, the O-line looked good. The running game looked good, but they had to abandon it because playing from behind, obviously, you can't run the ball. The defense looked average, still average. It didn't look like it improved much. The receivers not getting a lot of separation. They don't really have a clear-cut number one guy. So, Goff, I think Goff played decent. The pick six, that was bad other than the pick six. I think he did the best he could, but this is just a bad team, and I think the better team won.
Yeah, I like how you slipped in there, pad Stafford for Jared Goff. I mean, that's what we were used to all those years. Like the Lions are going to lose the game, and here comes Stafford throwing a bunch of numbers at the end, and then everybody's like, "Hey, guy threw for 300 yards. What's your problem?" It's like, wait a second. So that was pretty good. Pete, here in Detroit, people are saying like, "Hey, you know what? They showed heart. It was a moral victory." Are you buying any of those things for the Lions here as they're 0-1?
Yeah, I mean, they made an effort to fight back, but you're not just going to give up in a game. You could put that on the new head coach. I mean, he's a very fiery guy. But overall, they just didn't look good. The defense. I don't want to repeat what Raj said too much, but the defense was awful. They showed no signs of stopping the Niners offense. Garoppolo hasn't played in over a year. He was out. And he still came on, and except for the fumble on that beginning snap, they didn't stop him at all. I mean, Hawkinson looked good on offense, and yeah, they had a good run game with Swift and Williams. I agree with Goff. The numbers look good, but he just wasn't that guy. He wasn't doing it. He wasn't doing it for them. They put up some points late, but they were never in the game.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on everything there, except Raj, you said the defense was, average, but last year they were terrible. They're terrible. They were pretty terrible. I didn't see a whole lot defensively that made me think like, oh, okay. But and the part about them fighting back, whether you're saying they're padding stats or they showed heart, they better. If they were out there and they quit and they got, pulverized by, they were down 28. If they lost by 35 and it looked like they quit, be like, okay, you guys playing for your new head coach. I mean, that was some of the charges against Matt Patricia. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Bears standard is, fighting to the end and fight your ass off. And so they did that. And there were two things. The one, we were going to look, and if Penei Sewell looked like a, pylon over there at left tackle, people are going to be saying, oh, my God, the guy's a bust. And then we'll get to Jeff Okudah, which was some terrible news for the Lions. But the good news is Sewell was over there at left tackle, and there was some Pro Football Focus rated him out fantastically. We have some video of Sewell. You'll see him here. that a few people were putting out there. This one's from, let's see, my man Brian Baldinger, who says that he just looks so good, so much better at left tackle. And, you know, there he is going up against Bosa and holding his own there. That's encouraging. And Raj, now you said that they'll have an issue on their hands here because Sewell, who played left tackle at Oregon and struggled in the preseason, now he was over at left and he looked good. We know Taylor Decker's a left tackle. You could say that that's a good problem to have. How do you think it shakes out?
Yeah, they got to, you know, it's going to be interesting. I think they should put Penei Sewell at whatever they planned on when they drafted him. If they planned on playing him at right tackle, I think they should move him back to right tackle when Taylor Decker comes back. If that's the position you drafted him to play, put him over there. Honestly, if they're going to keep him at right tackle, I didn't even want to see him at left tackle this game. I'd rather him stay on the right side so he doesn't get comfortable with the left, then have to move back right, and that could potentially, you know, cause trouble for the line, you know, and camaraderie for everything for the line moving forward. So personally, if they're going to keep him at right tackle, I would rather have seen him stay there. But, you know, regardless of what, he did play a good game.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I hadn't heard many people talk about it, but everybody that I did hear talk about it was in the same kind of line of what you're thinking, Raj. Like, if Taylor Decker's only going to be out for a couple games, keep Sewell at right tackle. Don't flip him over to left and then throw him back at the right. You know, it's about getting him the most comfortable and getting him the most ready to play in the future. You're not moving on from Taylor Decker. You just gave him a gigantic contract when you talk about cap hits and everything. So if he was out for the year, I got it. But the Lions were the only ones that were like, no, we're doing it this way. So, you know, this is one of those things with a team that doesn't have much, if any, prospects, Pete, that we're going to keep an eye on. Now they've got two left tackles, and if the rookie goes back to right and struggles at all, you're going to be like, well, what the hell? Put flip-flop Decker. What are you going to do? It seems like a good problem to have, but the Lions, it seems like it could end up muddying things up a little bit here.
Yeah, I think with Sewell, he performed really well, and you saw he was struggling in the preseason on the right side, and he went up against a guy like Nick Bosa, and you weren't watching him all game just get beat and letting Goff get sacked. I mean, he performed well. It's going to be hard to tell him, go back to the right side. We got our guy on the left. I mean, left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line. Protect the blind side. If you went out and used your first round pick to get this guy because you thought he was going to be amazing, and you can put him at left tackle and he's going to perform well for you. He's going to protect your quarterback. I can't put him back on the right side and just watch him struggle.
You guys want to hit some of this feedback and see what people are saying here? We can comment on them. There's Paul just saying, what's up? Bashir says he was impressed with the Lions running game. Raj, you mentioned it. Yeah, Jamal Williams, he was out there hitting the hole up the middle. And DeAndre Swift, what was it? Was it the second half that he caught that touchdown, put a move on the defensive back? Yeah, he looked pretty good there. The backs look good and the running game looked good.
I think if they weren't playing from behind, one of those guys could have easily went over 100 yards, maybe even both of them.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed with what I saw there.
They went so far in the hole, they had to abandon the running game.
Okay, Pete, you're a young guy here. You have to deal with a same old Lions tweet. Kay Salty saying it was a meaningless same old Lions game. What do you think?
Look, they got beat plain and simple. They were the worst team. They came back at the end, tried to make something happen. They were padding stats. It was this pad Stafford. It was the same thing that they've always been. They're going to continue to struggle. They're going to keep losing games this season. So it's the same thing. There's no real star on the team that's going to lead them to win these games. They're going to struggle. Yeah, it's because same old Lions.
It's the same old Lions, except this time around, the same old Lions told us that they were going to be the same old Lions, that they were going to be bad. And to me, that's the difference here. It's like, all right, we're bringing in another general manager. We're bringing in a head coach. And we're not telling the fans like, hey, we're going to win the NFC North, or we've really got something up our sleeve here. And they know, we know that this team is going to win 4 or 5 games. And there's not a whole heck of a lot when it comes down to Sundays and the Lions winning. So we're looking for other things. To me, that's the difference, because before whenever it was the Fords up there, they were acting, Rod Wood, they were acting like, the Lions could go to the Super Bowl. And certainly the general manager and the coaches, they're all acting like the same thing. And everybody's like, this is the same old Lions. This time, that's the difference to me. There was a bunch of people saying like, hey, remember, this is a rebuild, which gives you a free pass. Really what it is like, hey, we're telling you we're going to be bad. We're playing the long view. We're going to suck. And this is it. And so don't get mad at us when we lose. And I'm good. I don't know if I give them a free, mostly it's not made me angry. Like I would have been, there was a part where they were down 28 points. I was like, this, getting humiliated. Like, so what? If you're going to get humiliated and embarrassed out on the field, I don't care if it's a rebuild or anything else. We do need to see a fight, and at least they did that. And so, they gained a little bit of a break there, I think. But that's it. This game went as expected. To me, I play fantasy football. I play daily fantasy, but over the years, I have never bet on a regular season game in all my life, so here I was with gambling. Now legal in Michigan, and me having all these free bets. I had the Niners -7.5. Talk about making the game interesting from a gambling standpoint. You're sitting out there, the final play, thinking that the Lions are getting 2-point conversion. I was like, if I lose this bet being up 28 points on the Lions, like I'm never gambling. I mean, I'm saying like, you hear gamblers say stuff like that all the time. But I said it. I'm like, if the Lions come back and win this one, I am never making another bet in my life. And it was a free bet for me, but they ended up hanging on. So then I'm like, let's go. I got this gambling thing down. That part was crazy.
Yeah. Well, you got to appreciate the Lions at least being upfront about it. Like, hey, we're going to suck this year. We're going to struggle. They're not doing the thing where they're like, yeah, this could be our year. They've watched the Cowboys one too many years. This is our year. This is our year, just to come out and disappoint.
Raj, you're not falling for it here. MAT, don't be deceived by the final score. They never stood a chance. # Niner Nation. I didn't know there was that watching the show. Running game and the rookie did look good. There's a part about this if you're talking about Niner Nation. Brandon Ayuk was supposed to be their wide receiver 1. I don't know if he was in the doghouse or something else. With whatever happened there, but so they lost Mostert in the third series or the third time he touched the ball. And so Trey Sermon, who I thought in all preseason, the thought is the Ohio State running back who was drafted 3rd, that he was running back too. So they're out there with their 3rd and 4th string running back running all over the Lions and without their wide receiver 1. But, Deebo Samuel, he looked like Jerry Rice and, whoever this cat was now that Elijah Mitchell that I have a claim on in my fantasy league, he looked like Roger Craig. So, or Ricky Running Waters. That was the same old Lions, that part. All right, here's more feedback here. Bashir says, I called out Okudah to be a bust when we drafted him, watched him in college with a plethora of talent that masked his deficiencies. Well, that walks us right in, Bashir, and I'll ask you, Raj, Jeff Okudah, he did have a play that he looked silly on that went for a touchdown, and a lot of people, just Bashir, myself included, was on there. I don't know if that's the play that he snapped his Achilles, but we find out not right after the game, but the next day, so yesterday, that he is out for the year. The Lions' number 3 overall pick last year, Jeff Okudah, done for the season. Where are we sitting here with Okudah?
Yeah, it really sucks that happened. He gave up the big play to Deebo Samuel in that game, and then I think he went out after that. I think he got into the argument with the was that defensive backs coach, I believe, was telling him do his job. But I mean, you just really hate to see this injury. Him having the down rookie year that he had. This was going to be an important evaluation year for him. You got a whole new regime in here. This regime didn't draft him, so this regime and ownership, they're really analyzing the Quintricia picks. Are these guys Are they going to be here moving forward? Or are we going to move on from him and cut him like they did Jelani Tavai? And this was going to be an important year to evaluate Jeff Okudah. So you really hate to see him go out with an injury, a season-ending injury. We can't evaluate the guy. Still can't evaluate him.
It's a huge hit for the Lions organization here. I mean, you're talking about a top 3 pick. Like, we're sitting over here, and in basketball, it's different in football, but it's different in every sport. Like in basketball, you can land one guy and it could change your fortunes forever. But, if you're picking in the top 5, you're talking about getting a game-changing talent here. And the Lions went with Jeff Okudah. We know rookies can struggle in their rookie year. And, he was undressed in a few games, and, it was a hard watch. But, here he was in his second year. And Pete, so this is – this is terrible news for the Lions. I mean, this is a huge commodity, and you hate it for the kid. It sucks for him. It sucks for the organization. It really sucks for Lions fans. I mean, this is something that he's one of the valuable pieces that you're thinking about. Call him, that's on the roster when you're thinking about moving ahead, and for this team maybe to be competitive and a playoff team and everything else, and now all of that's up in the air.
Yeah, it sucks to see a young guy like this, and I'm saying young, he's older than me. But you said it sucks to see him go out with an injury like this. Second year, was hoping to evaluate him more, and I think he'll come back next year, and that'll be the year that we'll see if he's the same player he was his rookie season. It was looking to be this year. Where, he got burnt on that one play, made him look foolish. If he comes back his third year and he does the same thing, then I think the Lions will probably move on. If he comes back next year and he's a whole new person who they expected to be, obviously he'll stick around, but maybe it'll just take a new team for him to reach his potential, and who knows? Well, I guess we'll see next season.
He's going to have to really wild him next year. If he doesn't wild him, he's not going to get out that rookie contract. They're going to move on from him, and that's going to be real disappointing because you spent the third pick on him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, a lot of it, like with an Achilles, I know there's some, and science is getting a lot better, but for a defensive back and an Achilles, I mean, the chances that he's going to come back and be something like full speed, that already, just to get a chance to be full speed where he can come back and show what he can do and fulfill that number 3 overall pick, that looks really dicey right now. All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yeah, and one more thing I just wanted to add real quick to the Lions' benefit, everybody in the NFC North lost, so.
True.
That is true. So you want to go ahead and say it, Pete? They're in first place. That's how the Lions are looking at it over here. All right, let's go to chapter 2.
Well, we could stick with the NFC North. We can go right to the Packers Saints game.
All right, let's do it. NFL Week 1. Let's just get our thoughts here. What surprised you? Let's start with Pete. Pete, was that the biggest surprise you did? The Packers got punched in the mouth and dragged up and down the field by Jameis Winston and the Saints in a game that was played in Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that whole game in general, mostly Rodgers. I mean, Winston, the 5 touchdowns. He only threw it 20 times, 5 touchdowns. The yards weren't really there. But I came on here. No, actually, it was in the chat. One of my first times with you guys, and you were talking about Taysom versus Winston, and I said, look, Winston's the guy. He needs to be starting every game. If he's not hurt, he's their guy, and he came out and proved it. He the 5 touchdowns, and they absolutely crushed the Packers, and Rodgers looked awful. I don't know how else to put it.
He did look awful, and Raj, as one of my big-time picks last week, I had the Bears. We'll see. I mean, it's just week 1. We all overreact on that. But my basis or my case for picking the Bears, part of it was that the whole offseason drama that was created by Aaron Rodgers, sure, these guys are professionals and they can get in there, but when you sabotage the draft and you call your general manager a blank hole and right down the, you throw your head coach under the bus and, you want out, trade me, I'm out here in Hawaii and I got my man bun and I'm doing all these things and all my wide receivers suck and why don't you go ahead and play Jordan Love? I thought that there could be an issue with the team overall. Like, you know what? to hell with number 12, man. This guy wanted to come back, and only reason he's here is because of a cap hit or something else. To hell with him. If there's anything about team camaraderie, and I don't know if that's what happened in week 1, but they sure as hell, look like a sad sack of players that didn't want to play for one another.
Yeah, for sure. But the bad thing about it, they're going to have a nice bounce back game next week against the Lions on Monday night. The Lions are catching them at a really bad time right now. So I think they're going to bounce back. National TV, I think Aaron Rodgers hears all the pundits, and I think he's going to light the Lions up. So bad time for the Lions to catch them right now.
It always seems like the Lions are catching teams at a bad time. But you're right. That is but there's a part about this. Like, playing at Lambeau, you already know that on a Monday night. I remember the last time there wasn't the Flowers. It was like his first or second game with the Lions. There were 2 plays at the end of the game, both of them and it sounds like I'm a crying Lions fan and everything else, but they're just absolutely horrendous calls. Those are good. That's when they had the rule in where they were going to call pass interference, and it was just like the second or third game. There was this Marv Jones Jr. was down there and he gets tackled at the 5. We're all like, hey, if that's not a flag, and these guys were like, no, we don't see a flag. I'm saying all that because you just mentioned the Lions going in there. Look, we're expecting them to lose. They're a double-digit dog. So, maybe this is the time they can go out there and just surprise. And wouldn't it be great to see the Green Bay Packers go 0-2 and the Lions actually get a W? But, Raj, the rest of the NFL there, I agree that the Packers, looking like trash was the top story. What else jumped out to you?
What else jumped out to me? I think the Cleveland Browns look very good. They did lose to Kansas City, but they kind of lost that game off some mental errors. I think Cleveland's a very good team. They could be a dark horse team in the AFC for the Super Bowl. And, of course, the Sunday night showcase we all watch, Stafford looked great out there. The Rams definitely look like they could definitely represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. It's just one game. It's just against Chicago. But if they look like that through 16 more games, they'll definitely have something to say about it.
Yeah, the Rams look good. There's no doubt about that. I think that, the Browns for part of that game, 3/4 of that game, they look like they're going to beat the Chiefs. And they were pretty good last year. I can see them winning a playoff game and getting to the AFC Championship game. I don't think that, that's it with Patrick Mahomes. It's like we've seen this a million times. He gets down. He can get down by 3 touchdowns. He can get down by 20 points in a playoff game, and he just comes storming back and just takes it. I also thought, Pete, I don't know, you're in the Pennsylvania, right? So you keep a close eye on the Eagles and the Steelers. I was one that a little bit higher on the Steelers coming back this year because they revamped the offensive line. Roethlisberger lost some weight, and that defense, they got hit with so many injuries. And they went into Buffalo, and I thought that was pretty impressive. I mean, if it wasn't the Browns that was going to be the biggest competitor to the Chiefs, a lot of people were saying, self-included, that it was going to be the Bills, and to see the Steelers play like they did, that was semi-shocking.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I do keep a lot more close tabs on the Steelers than I do the Eagles. I'm definitely a Steelers fan, so I was definitely pleased to see that. I was actually working on Sunday, and I got let off early, and I ran home to watch the second half, and got to see they made that stop on 4th down, and they went and scored a touchdown, blocked the punt, returned it for a touchdown. And that was the game changer. It was the defense, which is what it was last season, is phenomenal as always. TJ Watt, of course, just signed that big contract. He came in, forced a fumble, looked good as always. The O-line, we'll see. Bunch of young guys, no more Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro, all those guys are gone. So they definitely Villanueva, yeah. The O-line struggled a little bit, especially with the run game. Najee had nothing to really do. But I'm excited to see them kind of go throughout the season. And yeah, they went into Buffalo and they won. I mean, what else could you ask for week 1, really?
I still think Cleveland's the best team in that division.
Oh, I agree. They went to the way they played against the Chiefs. They didn't mess it up at the end with that dropped punt. Yeah, they probably would have won that game. I can see Cleveland being the best team in that division, as much as I hate to say it.
I'll tell you, I'm a, I sound like a Steelers, like a towel waver or something like that, which I've never been accused of. But they still have the best wide receivers in the NFL, and
I
I
don't know
was a
about
little
that.
scared watching Deontay Johnson look like he was, shot in the first half, and I'm thinking,
Mhm.
wow, man, this is bad news for the Steelers. But he got up, he ended up catching that sweet touchdown in the left corner
Mhm.
of the end zone, and Najee Harris is going to be good. I mean, he was out there for every snap and everything. And the Bills' defense is pretty good. That's one thing you got to remember. I'm not down on him, but great win there for the Steelers. I thought, Justin Jefferson, it wasn't in the first game, but, it took him a couple games. But the wide receiver out of LSU, he took the NFL by storm last year as a rookie. Usually it takes wide receivers a little while. But if you look at the first rounder, starting with a former LSU wide receiver who couldn't catch anything in the preseason, Jamar Chase for Cincinnati, the Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith, and then Jalen Waddle, his teammate for the Dolphins. All those guys scored. All of them had awesome first games. And Rob, I know you got the graph there of the numbers that they put up. To me, that's a surprise to see guys like that come in and have an impact like that, especially when Chase, he was being ridiculed. And, he took the year off, and then he couldn't catch a cold in the preseason. Everybody's like, oh, man, he's going to be a bust or whatever. But, he was awesome. And, all three of them were awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Devin Smith guy, Devontae Smith guy, who the Lions had a chance to draft. They all had good debuts. And, look at Philly. Philly looked very good in that game. Philly sitting first place on top of the NFC East right now. Who would have thought?
The Phillies, it's a surprise. There you see the numbers there. My eyes aren't as good, but Chase had 100 yards. Devonta was 6 catches, and he had that score. And then Waddle against the Pats was 61 there. Look at him sizing it up. I like it. Star-studded rookie debuts. I don't know, Raj, you just mentioned it as a throwaway a comment there. You think the Lions should have, his name was being thrown around a little bit? Did you think the Lions should have drafted Devonta Smith?
No, I think they made the right decision with Penei Sewell. I think that was the right choice. He made the most sense at that pick. He fell to them in their lap. We didn't know if he was going to be there or not, and we seen the fruits of their labor in that game. They were able to run the ball very well against San Fran. So I think Sewell was the right pick.
Yeah, I didn't mind the pick, and I understand because if you take a quarterback, you're like on the clock immediately. If you're a GM and a coach, and they gave him an extra year, and they're playing the long view, so taking an offensive lineman, but there's also the argument like if a quarterback falls in your lap, like Mac Jones or to me Justin Fields, I would have taken Justin Fields, but they didn't hire me as the general manager. That's they went with Brad Holmes, and he decided to go with an offensive lineman. So there you go. Those are the week 1 surprises. Let's see. People are on the Lions here. Let's see any feedback of elsewhere, what people had to say. Let's go to it. We've got Ishmael. Definitely not the same old Lions. Goes through the stars there. Those guys were different. They won games. We need to stop comparing Stafford and Goff. There's no comparison. Stafford is way better. That's from Bashir. All right, well, let's have that little discussion here.
Stafford.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think they're both about neck and neck because at the end of the day, Goff has accomplished more in less time than Stafford. Stafford, he was here for 11 years, no playoff wins, no division titles, put up a bunch of big numbers, put up a lot of those stats from playing from behind. So I don't think Stafford is that much better than Goff. I think it's more just it's the situation. Stafford's in a better situation now. Goff is here in the losing organization, and he's becoming Pat Stafford. He threw the ball almost 60 times, playing from behind, threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's doing exactly what Stafford was doing here. They just swapped positions.
Pete, what do you think? The comparison between Goff and Stafford. You think Raj is making sense here, or are you ready to go at him?
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, he's got a point where they swap positions, and now Stafford's with the better team. He's got the defense. He's got the run game that he never had, and he won his first game, and Goff is with the Lions, who are the Lions. But I definitely think Stafford is the better quarterback, and there is a slight gap there. He has he has the experience. Sure, Goff has been, he's won the playoff games. He's been to the Super Bowl, but Stafford's been around longer. He's definitely he's a better quarterback. It's not a huge gap. It's not, I'm not saying he's as good as Mahomes, he's as Josh Allen, as those guys, but he's definitely better than Jared Goff.
Now, look, I don't think Stafford's an elite quarterback. I think he's pretty good. And I think he's an upgrade over Jared Goff, and maybe he fits the system where he can throw the deep ball better. The stats bear that out. If you look at it, that seemed like it was the number one reason why they made that move, that, Goff just couldn't push the ball down the field like Stafford could. But, there have been a lot of instances over those 11, 12 years watching Matt Stafford in a Lions uniform where, 2011, he looked elite. The 1 year where they had those 8-9 comebacks, he was pretty awesome. But when he's put in a real tight spot in a big game where he has to perform like a number of times against Green Bay in the last game of the season, he's throwing the ball 20 yards over Golden Tate's head. You get him into the playoffs, and I know the wide receivers were dropping balls on him. They didn't score a touchdown the last time they were in there against the Seahawks. They had against the Cowboys. I know there was a bad call.
They got the ball back after that.
They did, with over 2 minutes to go and a timeout, in a one-score game, and he didn't get it done. Stafford has not, he's talented and he's got a great defense around him. And he had a little bit when Cam Akers was there, even a better running game. He's got a good offensive line, a really good set of wide receivers and all that. Sean McVay looks like he's an awesome coach. So he's got every single thing around him. He's got no excuses at all. But I've seen Stafford where everybody's ready to, think he's an elite quarterback and then watch him throw the game away. So I would just say all of these Los Angeles Rams fans that are watching, thinking you got an elite quarterback, buyer beware. I was saying that from the beginning. You can love Matt Stafford, but believe me, man, you get into a tight spot and you're a gunslinger. What happens, the whole definition of being a gunslinger is you'll see him throw away a couple games and people will be like, what the hell? And it can happen. It can happen, and it happened here in Detroit repeatedly. It wasn't, mostly was it the Lions? Yeah, but there was a part about Stafford, and, he's not an elite QB. I think
he couldn't get him over the hump. He just couldn't get him over the hump. He just wasn't that guy. He is an above average quarterback. I'm not saying he isn't. He is a franchise quarterback. But as far as elite, I don't think he's elite at all. He was here for 11 years. It was, he underachieved. He had some real good teams with Calvin Johnson, Ndamukong Suh, Nate Burleson, Nick Fairley, and the team just couldn't get him over the hump.
I agree. Where was that? Beth was saying that the Lions, the Niners could have put a 60 on him if they wanted to. We've still got some of those in there. And let's see here. One more. K Salty was talking about Jameis being great. Everybody said I was crazy. Who's laughing now? Well, with one game, Jameis is laughing because he played awesome there. All right, you guys ready to move on? Pete, we'll talk with you again. Maybe we'll bring you in chapter 5 because there's something I wanted to ask you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, we'll see you in a second. There's Pete. Now it's side by side. Sideshow Raj, you see there on the right, and we go to there. I like that one a little better. You like that close-up one better, or you like this one better, Raj?
I like this right here.
All right, let's go to some college football. It takes us to Michigan. The Big House. They had a maze out on Saturday. It was the Wolverines hosting the Huskies, and Michigan ended up getting it done. And there it is, the maze out from the Goodyear blimp. Looks pretty good. What did you think, Raj, of the Wolverines' effort against the Huskies?
They played very well. They didn't wet the bed. National TV game, big stage. Corum, they had the two-headed monster running back, Corum and Haskins. Corum, 21 carries, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. Haskins, 27 carries, 155 yards, 1 touchdown. They definitely won at the line of scrimmage. Clearly, the game plan was to run the ball. Washington's offense is awful. Their offense is just terrible. Their quarterback's not that good. They did a great job at the line of scrimmage running the ball, but I don't know if it's they need to open up with Cade McNamara, man. Just 44 passing yards, 7 for 15. He had a QBR of 16 in that game. You got to cut the guy loose. You got to let the guy start throwing the ball around the yard, man. 15 pass attempts in that game. Like, come on, you got to give the guy more pass attempts. Even last week against Western, 9 for 11 for 136 yards. He has 26 pass attempts in 2 games and 180 total passing yards in 2 games. Like, they need to let the guy loose a little more. They need to cut him loose. They need to let him sling the ball around a little more. I don't know if that's Harbaugh or I don't know if Gaddis doesn't want to open up the playbook, or does Gaddis want to open up the playbook, but Harbaugh is making him play more conservative. I don't know exactly what that is, but going into the back end of their schedule is going to get really tough. And by the time they go to Penn State and Ohio State, McNamara needs to be comfortable. He needs to be comfortable slinging the ball around the field.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. We're putting them just watching them. You say, hey, what's the problem? They got the win. The problem is if you want to be a dangerous team that you think can win the Big Ten, win the Big Ten East, go to the college football playoff, you need to have a dangerous passing attack and a really good running attack. And they were able to display a really good running attack. I'm not complaining that they went out there and rolled up all 345 yards and had a dual threat at running back. Even the game plan, at the 10-0 at the half, I was thinking I wanted it to be a little bit more. And then they came out in the second half. It was like, are they just going to run the ball again? Yeah, they are. But they, were getting big chunk plays and they got up 17-0. So it was hard to complain even after that they were just going to go ground and pound against Washington. I can feel good about the running backs. I can feel good about the offensive line. So I was going back and watching clips today. I was watching Zach Zinner pull and smash guys and decleat them. I was watching the Stardust, their center, getting off and running down the line and sticking his nose in there. The offensive line was awesome. That's a good sign that you can maul and play physical football. That's a great sign. But I can also, it doesn't have to be like, well, are you really impressed with the running game, or are you, furious that they couldn't throw the ball? It's not furious. It's just like, I think there's a side where you can say, winning football, if you're going to be a good team, you got to be able to do both. So it was nice that they were able to show a ground and pound and go out there and do that. But we know the time's going to come where they're going to have to be a team that can be dangerous throwing the football. And if Ronnie Bell was still, like you're like, hey, they got Ronnie Bell. They've got all, they just lost their captain and wide receiver. He's on crutches. So now you have a bunch of guys that are pushed up. And you say, all right, next man up. Well, do they really have? I mean, they had a bona fide number 1, wide receiver 1, and Ronnie Bell. He was the guy that they looked to in the red zone. They look for on key third downs. And the guy had a 75-yard touchdown in that first game, where it was here he was 76-yard touchdown, and now you're like, okay, are these guys ready to show up and be big play wide receivers? That's a huge question mark for this team. They've got 2 games here at Northern Illinois and Rutgers where you think, hey, they can work on a little downfield passing game. Let's see if they can show something there. And then, of course, when they go to Wisconsin on the road, I think they're going to have that. I don't think they're just going to line up against the Badgers and just push them over all around the field.
Not at all.
Yeah, you feel the same way.
Yeah. They're at Wisconsin, at MSU. Then you got Indiana at home, at Penn State, Ohio State. Once you catch the back end of that schedule, McNamara, he's going to have to be comfortable back there. He's going to have to get loose. And these are important games right here. I don't understand why you're not letting him loose going against Western Michigan, going against Washington. These are the time you want to see these guys get their swagger. McNamara, the receivers that got bumped up. Even this Saturday, the game against Northern Illinois, they're Michigan minus 27 in that game. Let the guy loose. Yeah. Get some of the receivers comfortable. Get McNamara comfortable in the passing game. Get you know what I'm saying? That's what they got to do. I don't know exactly what's the game, why Gaddis and Harbaugh came up with this game plan. I mean, it's working. I guess they're not going to let McNamara lose them games with his arm, but you got to cut the guy loose, man. You got to let him go. You got to let him sling the ball around the field. Yeah,
I'm happy with where they're at. The game plan, some game flow sometimes dictates, how you go and whether you abandon the pass or, just go to the run and all that. Sometimes you abandon the run. So I'm all right with it. You mentioned these next two games. Like, you don't go in. I don't want to see Jim Harbaugh, them, try to run the ball 60 times against Northern Illinois and saying, that's our motto. We're just going to ground and pound. It's like, no, they better unleash an aerial attack against Northern Illinois. And they also better show that ability against Rutgers, or it's going to be like, you know what? You're going to be called one-dimensional and people are going to think you're going to get exposed. People being me and like a lot of other people. So, they've got 2 games here to work out those kinks in the passing game. I think that's completely fair.
Yeah, and when you're running the ball that well, it's going to open up the passing game easily. More play action, go over the top. It should be there all day when you're running the ball that well.
Yep. All right, you ready to move on to chapter 4?
Yep. And before we do that, you know who the starting quarterback is for Northern Illinois this Saturday?
I don't.
Rocky Lombardi.
Uh-oh. Whoa.
He's making his Michigan comeback.
Oh, no. Wow. Well, I hope Ricky White isn't transferring to Northern Illinois either. So I guess they're going to be taking a bunch of deep shots.
Yeah, the shots Michigan scared the state.
Rocky Lombardi, for those that don't know, I think everybody does. He was the quarterback last year on Halloween for Michigan State as they went into Ann Arbor in an empty stadium and beat Michigan.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 4.
All right, chapter 4. We got MSU, Michigan State Spartans, currently 2-0. 2-0. They're tied in the Big Ten East with Penn State. First, they got off to the 2-0 start. They went out there. They went in the season opener against Northwestern. They won. I didn't think they were going to win that game. They won it. Took care of business that we all knew they were going to do against Youngstown State this past Saturday. Here they are 2-0, and they got a big game going to Miami on Saturday. If they're the real deal, and they should go down there and beat them. If they go down there and lose, then they could potentially look like phonies. But I do like Peyton Thorne has been good at quarterback. Kenneth Walker's been great at running the ball. He's averaging 10.7, almost 11 yards a pop. So I didn't think they were going to look this good. But if they go to Miami and win that game, and then you follow that up with Nebraska, Western Kentucky at home, at Rutgers, at Indiana, they could potentially be undefeated going into the Michigan game. So.
Yeah, I think the most important thing we're seeing that first play of the game where it was a throwback to Thorne, and last week they scored a 75-yard touchdown against Northwestern, and they came out and scored a touchdown on the first play this week against Youngstown State. That's impressive. Way to get on the board right away. 2-0 is the impressive part, and you beat Northwestern. I was like you. I didn't think they were going to win that game. And, in this game here, I was expecting that it was going to be Kenneth Walker going for, 200 yards again after what he did against Northwestern. If it wasn't him, I would have picked Elijah Collins, not Jordan Simmons. But it's good to have options at the running back. It's the same thing at wide receiver. If you'd have said, who's wide receiver 1, I'd have said Jalen Naylor, not Jaden Reed. And not a sure thing that Jaden Reed's their number 1 wide receiver, but he had the best game against Youngstown. So they've got some wideouts. They've got some backs here, skilled players. Their offensive line is good. And if you look, Pro Football Focus, I think we have that tweet from Pro Football Focus where they graded out the offensive lines, and they were good against Northwestern. We knew that by watching them. Kenneth Walker running behind that offensive line. There was a couple times when, he just found the creases, and next thing you know, he was 10 yards into the second level and the third level. But they graded out, there it is, you can see it, as highest graded offensive line week 2. Baylor 1, Michigan State number 2. So that bodes well for MSU. And I picked Michigan State before the season to go 5-7. I had them losing at Northwestern. I had them losing to the U. So if they go down to, like you're talking about, Miami, and they beat the U, that's a statement.
Yeah, like I said, they beat them. They got a very favorable schedule after that. Nebraska, Western Kentucky, Rutgers, Indiana. They could potentially be undefeated going into the Michigan game. And then they don't play Ohio State and Penn State to their last 2 games of the season. They got Ohio State and they play Penn State last. So who knows? in the Big Ten East race, they might potentially be in the Big Ten championship game or playing for it towards the end of the season. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there. Let's see what they do against you. Let's see what they do.
Let's take it one game at a time. Let's take it one game.
I'm all right. I'm all right talking about the future, but Big Ten championship game. I don't know. Like, all right, I'm not ready to talk about it with Michigan. But let's see. Let's see them against the U.
Yeah, Miami minus 6.5 in that game. Who you like Miami to cover or?
It's 6.5, huh?
Yeah, Miami.
I don't know.
Minus 6.5.
You know what? The U looks so bad against Bama. Like, if I would have seen anything, they got King as their quarterback. If I would have seen anything against Bama, I would feel like. But what am I going to see? The heat in Miami. It's been hot as heck. Like the Michigan State was practicing out this heat and thunderstorms today. That's how it's going to feel like it's going to be in Miami on Saturday. So the heat shouldn't be a factor for them. I don't know. I kind of like Michigan State getting this. I think I'm gonna pick Miami. Thursday we'll make these picks, but my initial feel is that I like the U, but I like State in the 6.5. That number seems to be too big. What about you?
Yeah, I like State. They've been playing good football.
You just like State outright.
not
money
outright.
line.
Not
outright. Okay.
I do. But no, they've been a surprise this year. Peyton Thorne, he's played well. He hasn't turned the ball over. The running game has been there. Miami, they had the blowout loss against Alabama week 1. They barely snuck by Appalachian State last week. And if Michigan State can keep playing,
a good point. That's a good point. They did just barely sneak by.
So if Michigan State can keep playing this good disciplined football, running the ball, like you said, Pro Football Focus had the offensive line rated number 2 for this past weekend. They could easily go down there and win that game. Look up, and they'll be 3-0 and on top of the Big Ten East. So I do like State in that game, and hopefully they go down there and take care of business.
Maybe State on the money line. You're kind of talking me into it. All right, well, let's get to Chapter 5. That gets us to college football week 2. But before we get to week 2, you mentioned State playing the U. We'll talk a lot about that game on Thursday. I don't know what the Saturday night big-time game in college football is. Do you know, Raj, off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head.
Pete does. Pete does off the top of his head. What is it, Pete?
Penn State, Auburn.
Okay.
Ooh, Penn State, Auburn. Where's that game being played?
Right here. It's the whiteout game.
Whiteout game.
Mm-hmm.
Bo Nix coming in, the Tigers and Penn State. Wow. And Penn State with the impressive victory over Wisconsin. I would imagine they're in Happy Valley. People are pretty excited about the football team.
I say we're pretty happy in Happy Valley, yeah.
Well, what about you weren't happy with the news of Clay Helton getting fired at USC and they kept throwing up on ESPN for 24 hours straight? Well, who's the top candidate? James Franklin.
No.
Are you worried that James Franklin would leave?
No.
Would leave State College to go to California?
I don't think so. I mean, the weather's nice, but other than that, I don't think so. I'm not too worried about that.
You're not going back to Cali strictly for the weather. Like Biggie would say, you don't go strictly for the weather.
No.
I don't know. Like he would be going for a lot of money, but he'll be able to get plenty of money in Happy Valley. Yeah, I don't think he's going to leave Penn State too. It's nice. You know what? If you got a good coach, you're going to have other teams coming after him. That's just you want people to say that they want your coach. So you should.
Honestly, I think Penn State's program's in a better place right now than USC's. I think Penn State could potentially contend for a Big Ten championship. I don't know if USC is there right now.
No, they're not. But there's I don't know James Franklin. I know he's at Vanderbilt before, but if he's got any California ties, I mean, LA usually just sells itself. It's like, hey, you want to go to LA? You want to go to California? You want to live in LA? I mean,
that's what they did to Stafford. Hey, you want to come play for the Rams?
I mean, I've been to State College a couple times. It's nice, but I mean, I've been to LA too. I don't know what James Franklin wants. LA, State College.
Yeah. Also a primetime game Saturday night at 7:30. You got Central Michigan going down to LSU to play LSU. So LSU minus 20 in that game.
That's it?
Wow.
Minus 20. Central Michigan at LSU, 7:30.
Go Tigers. That's my there's an impersonation for you. All right, well, guys, let's hear the fifth chapter. And if you're out there watching right now, like I see hundreds are listening to the podcast, you should be reminded that we are live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:00. And that if you watch the show live, you can jump in and read your contribute by putting your feedback in, and we'll read it over the air, and we'll comment in on it, so you can get that done. We appreciate everybody jumping in on the feed and on the feedback. And we go to chapter 5, where we talk about week 2 in college football. As we looked forward, now let's look back here. We talked about the night game at the Big House, and we talked about Michigan State. There's one game. I'll just lead you right to it. Let's give Pete first crack at it. I don't know. Penn State, they're the only team that's had any success against Ohio State. I mean, they've lost a couple games by 1 point, and they won one. I'm talking about in the James Franklin era. And that game, unfortunately, for Penn State is in Columbus this year. But the Buckeyes may be susceptible here after seeing the Ducks, and that play right there, getting things going. Look at that. CJ Verdell went nuts. So what did you think of that one?
Of the Ohio State? Ohio State game? Yeah.
Ohio State, Oregon. You feeling like you got a shot now that you're Penn State after watching the Ducks go in there and do what they did? I definitely got to wait and at least one more week, see how Penn State comes up against Auburn. But it was definitely funny to finding out Ohio State lost, because I was at the Penn State game. I was standing up in the bleachers, and one of the guys in front of me, I didn't know who he was, turns around, he goes, "Oh my God, Ohio State lost." And I was like, I didn't believe him at first, because I couldn't see him. I didn't have any good service. I was like, shoot, all right. And then they, like 5 minutes later, they announced it over the loudspeaker at the stadium, and everyone went crazy. Cheers. So, yeah. Couple cheers, a couple chants that I don't think I'm allowed to repeat on live. Chapman had it set up for explicit language, but I haven't been using any, so I don't know. We'll have to talk with Rob about that and see what's best for us in the weeks and months ahead here on the show. I can tell you this, Raj. I went to a memorial on Saturday morning, so I wasn't sitting right there at noon for the kickoff. And I went to my mom's house, and she lives in Redford, and she doesn't have cable. And even her, I don't know, like the just bringing in like a digital air feed or whatever it is, like with rabbit ears or whatever they are now. I know she doesn't get all the channels, and so I'm thinking she's probably not going to get this Ohio State game. I'm probably going to be watching like, Pitt or Temple or something. I wasn't prepared, but you know what? She had it. I got there at the half. It was 14-7, and it was coming in perfect, and I was able to watch that game, and it was a hell of a second half. This was a bad omen. When you're and that dude comes running out of the tunnel and face plants. That is not yeah. That's the guy that dots the I, right?
Yeah.
I think he dotted his knees there and his elbows.
That pretty much sums up that game for Ohio State.
That's right. They just keep rolling that one back. Yeah. You know what the great part is, right? It's like people have been complaining about college football. It's like it's the same old. It's Clemson. It's Ohio State. It's Alabama. It's Georgia. Well, Clemson and now Ohio State, we're only in week 2, and both of them have lost.
Yeah. Definitely rather better lose early than late. So they can still bounce back. Ohio State can still run the table. Going to be tough. Penn State's going to be good. Michigan State looks good right now. So, we'll see if they run the table. Same thing with Clemson. You lost early. You lost to Georgia. They were ranked 3, so that's going to play a factor as well. But I can see them running the ACC and get to the ACC tournament. So definitely better to lose early than late.
All right. Any other games that you guys watching on Saturday talking about college football?
Yeah, I seen Toledo. Toledo was on Notre Dame's heels. They gave Notre Dame everything they could handle.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I watched Ohio State, and then I had to take off to go to the big house to be out on a golf course. And so they had some TVs, and I saw that Iowa was impressive against Iowa State. That was supposed to be like the midday clash. It ended up not being that way. Not like Iowa was really impressive going back and looking at the numbers, but looks like they got a pretty good defense. And it looks like on the west side of the equation, when it comes to the Big Ten, it's going to be Kirk Ferentz's team. So at least after 2 weeks, I think we can say that. They've got a couple wins under their belt here. And that's what stood out to me in week 2. Pete, are you going to the what was it called? Whiteout?
Whiteout.
Of
course I'm going. Yeah, absolutely. I got season tickets. I'll be at every game.
All right, we'll take some pictures and we'll put them up here. Well, I guess we'll see you on Thursday. So we can we'll be talking about that one. Great job, Chad. Great to see you. We'll see you more on Thursday. All right. And Raj, yeah, you came in. It's like an old comfortable shoe. You just slid right in, and you did a great job on the show.
Yeah, thanks, man. I came out the bullpen. I'm in the starting rotation right now, so.
You know what? Maybe we'll stretch you out. Looks like you're ready to go, as a starter. So that's good.
Yeah, no more AAA. No more AAA.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, football being back, having it on, Saturday, Sunday, I watched the Monday night game. Just waiting on. It's not like Thursday is a great game or anything, but man, it's great. If you're a football, who isn't a football fan, it's great to have it back. And it's been the first 2 weeks is, it's been like a lot what you expect, man. Surprises, fun, just loving it, man. Great job. Thanks for joining us, man. We're going to see you again. Always on a Tuesday, right?
Oh yeah, you already know. Absolutely, I'll be here. Every Tuesday, 7:00. Appreciate you for having me on board.
Yeah, you did a great job. We appreciate it, and we'll talk with you on Tuesday. And thanks to Rob Diddy for putting this producing everything together. And for Pete Finelli, you can see Sideshow Raj. You can follow him on Twitter. I'm Dennis Fithian. We'll talk with you on Thursday at 7:00. Good night.
Peace.